The winner of the Biel Grandmaster Tournament was Vidit Gujrathi from India. He's 24 years old and he is rising up the world rankings. He's now well over 2,700, getting closer to his compatriots Anand and Hari Krishna. So I want to show you one of his games from the Biel tournament. And this was great fun. I think you're going to enjoy this. Remember, if you're not a subscriber to the channel, then do click on that subscribe button. And if you want to support us, do check out the links to PayPal and also patreon.com PowerPlayChess. So here we go. Vidit with the white pieces. Now he's playing Sebastian Bogner from Switzerland. It's a Slav. Normally a very solid opening for black, but watch what happens in this game. And the so-called Chebanenko variation. Perhaps preparing b5. Sometimes just covers the b5 square. b5 is the normal move here, but bishop f5 from Bogner. You can play bishop d3 here for white, but Vidit plays quite a testing move. Knight h4. Bishop could just go back, but instead Bogner plays the provocative bishop g4. Queen comes out, it's a decent square. And now h3, let's get rid of that bishop. And g4. Well, it's fun playing g4. White is, having played queen c2, is not that far off queenside castling. So, you know, you can get away with moves like this, actually. And here, if bishop g6, then you can just take. And it's nice to use this space advantage, actually. Kick the knight, play h4, maybe f4. It's a nice position already. But that wasn't Bogner's idea. He played knight fd7. This is the tricky idea. Opening this diagonal so that if the knight drops, then you've got bishop g6, saves the bishop. But Vidit starts to shake things up with pawn takes bishop. And now things start to get a bit crazy. That queen looks pretty safe at the side of the board. And Vidit's messed up his pawn structure. But this knight slows down black's development. And there's an open g file here as well. And now things start to get very interesting. So Vidit hurries to get his king across this side of the board. Now you can take this, but actually white can open up the position. But instead, Bogner took on c4 and then played c5. This is the approved computer move. I have a feeling that he knew this already. But this, the computer might think it's okay. But from a human perspective, I can tell you, this is really risky. Because it starts to open up these light squares. You know, look at this diagonal here. And potentially maybe even this diagonal too, if the position opens. And white has a light squared bishop, but black does not. Let's bear that in mind. It's possible to take that pawn, but I mean this is actually being played in the game, but white simply just gets on with it. And black is very behind in development. So anyway, c5 played, and Vidit castles queenside. So you can see that white's coordination is fantastic. The rooks are connected. Black's are not. Black's king is still in the middle of the board. Black still needs to develop all these pieces. This is risky for black. Very risky indeed. Let's see what happened. Knight c6. And now, well, can't move this pawn yet. Remember that queen is looking at the bishop, but simply rook g1. Nice move. Looking at the g7 pawn. Maybe looking to play rook g4 at some moment, but rook g1. Nice. Basically makes it more difficult for black to develop because obviously the bishop needs to protect that pawn. So black now takes that pawn in the middle. Oh boy, this is a very brave move. Brave or foolish? Let's find out. Well, first of all, if knight takes, let's just have a quick look at this. Queen a4 is very strong. Pinning. And if b5, there are some more pins here. Bishop takes b5 is possible. I love the geometry of this. We've got pins in both directions. So if pawn takes bishop, then we've got queen takes rook. And if knight takes bishop, then we've got queen takes queen over there. It's a funny move. Let's go back. So knight takes pawn, not very good. Queen takes played. Attacking the bishop, and the knight came to e4. My computer still thinks this is okay for black, but I'm telling you, this looks absolutely terrifying because white's pieces are so well coordinated. That knight is just kind of floating around in the middle, ready to strike. This happened. Now, don't exchange, of course. Knight g5, that just floats in the general direction of the king side like that. This queen is on the same line as the rook. This is scary stuff, really scary. This rook perhaps can come up the board to hit the queen. Very difficult position for black. Knight e5 played. The bishop dropped back. And now this could be a possibility. So a check and king b1. The king is pretty safe here. Knight b4 played. And this was taken. Now, I'm sure black was relieved to at least exchange off that dangerous bishop. But just look at the development. I mean, every single one of white's pieces is in the game. Beautiful coordination. Look at black's pieces. Dreadful. And that king is still stuck in the middle. That's a good song. Right, rook g4. Here we go. Hits the queen. And now it's just straight ahead for white. Here's a beautiful move. h6. Interesting that that pawn just proves its worth in the end. So the idea is to open up this diagonal. g6 and now queen c3. This is beautiful stuff. Rook has to move and now knight h7. Threatening a check. Well, black can't do much about that. Has to get rid of that pawn and the check comes. Of course, it's possible to take the rook here. Of course, that will be recaptured, which is good for white. But actually, it sells white's position short. White just has such a beautiful initiative here. It's great that this rook swings across into the game. I love this. So where can the queen go? Well, if it goes back here, then bishop f3, and now that bishop, with no opponent, just comes into the game, slicing through black's position. All these pieces just bearing down on black here, and this is completely lost now. Yeah, threat to come down to d7. So if rook d8, you give this one up anyway. So check, hitting the bishop, so that has to be taken, and then rook b7 wins. And then you take that's check, and then you take the queen. Okay, let's come back here. So rook b4 just played, attacking the queen. Queen a5. Ooh, that's risky. That's risky. On the same line as the queen on c3. Keeps hold of the knight here, but really, whoops, the knight here. Black's position is so shaky. Of course, if rook takes, then you play knight takes and protect the queen. But hold on. That's why in this position Vidit played knight e4, and this is just a splendid end now. So if knight takes, now the knight's been deflected, then we can take, and we take the queen. Thank you very much. So after knight e4, remember this piece is attacked, so that was defended. And now the queen swoops in. And then the knight comes in, threatening mate and threatening the rook. So the rook stepped up. Now there's more than one way to win. Knight c4 was the final move of the game. Knight f5 is also does the job too. Knight c4 here, black resigned. Why did black resign? Well, when the queen is threatened and mate in 1 is threatened, this is problematic. If knight d7, attacking that one, you can just take that. And then take the queen. But yes, after knight c4, queen takes rook, rook d8 is mate. Actually, black resigned after knight c4, but hey, let's have the checkmate position on the board. It's beautiful stuff. Now that is a beautiful rolling initiative. For me, that's very AlphaZero-ish, actually, that game. The influence of the rook's pawn, but the whole way that basically Vidit didn't care about giving up pawns and just playing for the initiative. You know, I think that that AlphaZero is definitely having an effect on the play of the top chess players in the world. Well, thanks very much for watching. There's so much exciting chess going on at the moment. Lots of different tournaments, and we're building up to the Sinkfield Cup that starts on August the 17th, so watch out for that. But there'll be more videos coming your way before then as well. Thanks for watching.